Claire Donovan had everything people dreamed of: wealth, a name respected in New York's financial circles, and a luxury penthouse overlooking the skyline. Yet when she returned home each evening, her heart felt unbearably heavy. Her 7-year-old daughter, Lily, had been unable to walk since birth. Despite endless treatments and consultations with the best doctors money could buy, progress never came. Claire poured millions into therapies, imported medical devices from Europe, and even flew in specialists. But the result was always the same. Lily remained confined to her wheelchair, her bright spirit trapped in a body that refused to move. For Claire, the sight of her daughter's longing eyes hurt more than anything. Lily never complained, but sometimes she would press her little hands to the glass window, watching children play in the park below their building. Claire could afford to buy toys, designer clothes, even a private playground, but none of it replaced the joy of running freely with other kids. One Saturday morning, on their way back from yet another failed therapy session, Claire's sleek black SUV sputtered to a halt in a quiet Brooklyn neighborhood. Annoyed, she checked her phone. Her chauffeur was off that day, and roadside assistance would take too long. She stepped out, heels clicking against the pavement, glancing around at the modest row of shops. A small auto repair garage stood across the street. From inside came the sound of tools clinking and the faint hum of an old radio. Lily, seated in the back, leaned forward curiously. "Mom, is that a mechanic shop?" Claire sighed, brushing back her styled hair. "Yes, sweetheart. Let's see if they can help." Together they crossed the street, and there she saw him. Ethan Miller, a tall man in his early 30s, with grease-stained hands, worn jeans, and the kind of smile that carried no pretense. Ethan looked up from under the hood of a dusty pickup truck as Claire approached. At first, he recognized her face from the news, Claire Donovan, the billionaire executive, standing in his humble shop. But he quickly shifted his focus, kneeling down to Lily's level. "Hey there, kiddo," he said warmly. Lily's eyes lit up. She wasn't used to strangers speaking to her instead of her mother. "I'm Lily," she said shyly. Ethan chuckled, wiping his hands on a rag. "Nice to meet you, Lily. What brings you two here?" Claire explained the car trouble briefly, but Lily's curious questions about the tools and cars seemed to captivate Ethan far more. As Ethan worked on Claire's SUV, Lily kept watching him. At one point, she asked, "Do you fix people too?" Claire froze, embarrassed, but Ethan just smiled softly. "Not exactly, but I used to help my sister walk when she was sick," he said. That caught Claire's attention immediately. Ethan went on, telling them about his late sister, who had been wheelchair-bound for years. He described how, without money for expensive equipment, he improvised simple wooden supports and spent hours encouraging her to move just a little more each day. "She didn't make it," Ethan admitted quietly, "but I saw how much joy those little steps gave her." Claire's throat tightened. In all her years of dealing with doctors and experts, she had never heard someone speak with such simple, heartfelt sincerity. After he fixed the car, Ethan offered nothing more than a modest smile in his bill. But Lily tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Mom, can he come visit? Maybe he can help me like he helped his sister." Claire hesitated. This was absurd. She could hire the most skilled physiotherapist in the country, and now her daughter wanted a mechanic's help? But the hope in Lily's eyes, fragile yet fierce, broke through Claire's resistance. She gave Ethan a card and asked if he might come by someday. That evening, as Claire tucked Lily into bed, she found herself replaying Ethan's words. She had never met someone who treated her daughter not as a patient, but as a child full of possibility. Wealth had built walls around Claire, surrounding her with professionals who spoke in clinical terms and timelines. Yet this mechanic from Brooklyn, with his rough hands and simple speech, carried a warmth that money couldn't replicate. She wasn't sure if inviting him was wise, but she couldn't deny the spark of hope it had given Lily, and maybe herself as well. Days later, Ethan arrived at their penthouse, carrying a small wooden frame he had built from spare parts. It was crude compared to the sleek machines Claire had purchased, yet there was something touching about its simplicity. Lily's eyes shone as he showed her how to grip the handles and shift her weight slowly. "One step at a time," Ethan encouraged gently. Claire stood by, arms crossed, skeptical yet unable to look away. For the first time in years, her daughter's laughter filled the room as she wobbled forward, supported by Ethan's steady hands and his handmade frame. Claire felt something stir inside her, a mixture of awe, fear, and humility. She had measured her life in profits and possessions, but in that moment, all she saw was a mechanic kneeling beside her daughter, treating her as though she were the most important person in the world. And maybe she was. That night, as Claire sat by the window, staring at the city lights, she realized something. Money could buy almost everything. But perhaps the miracle she had been waiting for would come from a place she least expected, through a man who had nothing but compassion to give. Over the next few weeks, Ethan became a regular visitor at the Donovan penthouse. Claire had never imagined letting a stranger into her personal space, but Lily's excitement every time he walked in was impossible to ignore. He always carried something small with him, a modified tool, a wooden block, a strap he had stitched together at home. While professionals had filled the house with machines that looked intimidating, Ethan's inventions were humble, yet they gave Lily courage. Each day she tried harder, holding on to him as though he were the anchor she had been waiting for all her life. Claire often stood back and observed, torn between amazement and disbelief. She had poured millions into technology, but nothing compared to Lily's genuine progress under Ethan's care. His patience never faltered, even when Lily stumbled or grew frustrated. "It's okay, one more time," he would say gently, and somehow his words reached her in ways therapists never could. Claire found herself watching the bond between them grow, and for the first time she felt like hope wasn't just a dream. Yet part of her wondered how a man with no medical degree could achieve what the experts had not. One evening, Claire decided to test him. As Lily practiced with Ethan's handmade frame, Claire interrupted. "You're not trained. What if she gets hurt?" Ethan looked up, not offended, just calm. "Then I'll be right here to catch her. Sometimes healing isn't about science. It's about trust," Lily nodded fiercely. "I trust him, Mom." Claire felt her throat tighten. Her daughter had never spoken with such determination before. She stepped back, realizing she could no longer measure progress by charts or reports. What mattered was the light in Lily's eyes, something Ethan had sparked without even trying. Weeks turned into months, and Lily's strength improved little by little. She could now stand for several seconds without help, something doctors had sworn might never happen. Claire secretly recorded one of those moments, tears spilling as she captured her daughter balancing proudly with Ethan cheering beside her. That night, as she replayed the video alone, she realized money had blinded her for years. She had been searching for solutions in the wrong places, believing only specialists could deliver miracles. Yet here was a man who had almost nothing, giving her the most priceless gift she could imagine. The breakthrough came on a quiet Sunday evening. The penthouse was filled with soft jazz, and Ethan was helping Lily across the living room. Claire set her wineglass down, sensing something different in Lily's determination. With Ethan holding one hand and the wooden support in the other, Lily suddenly let go, wobbling forward. Claire gasped, her hands flying to her mouth as her daughter took 3 shaky, glorious steps on her own before collapsing into Ethan's arms. The sound of Lily's laughter mixed with Claire's sobs filled the room, a melody of triumph that money could never compose. Claire rushed forward, dropping to her knees and embracing her daughter. "You did it, baby," she whispered, her tears soaking Lily's hair. Lily beamed proudly, pointing at Ethan. "He believed in me." Claire turned to the mechanic, her voice breaking. "I don't know how to thank you. I've had the world's best experts and none of them could do this." Ethan shrugged modestly. "Sometimes you don't need the best. You just need someone who cares enough not to give up." His words pierced through her heart, shattering the armor she had built around herself for so many years. From that night forward, Ethan wasn't just a visitor, he became part of their lives. Claire invited him to family dinners, where Lily insisted he sit beside her. The penthouse, once cold and silent, now rang with laughter and warmth. Claire found herself opening up too, sharing stories she had never told anyone about her fears as a mother. Ethan listened without judgment, reminding her that even billionaires were still human, still vulnerable. In his presence, she felt something unfamiliar yet comforting. She felt seen, not as the powerful businesswoman, but as a mother who simply wanted her child to be happy. Months later, during a spring afternoon in Central Park, Claire watched in awe as Lily walked several steps across the grass, holding only a small brace Ethan had made. Strangers stopped to watch, clapping and cheering, unaware of the journey behind those steps. Claire's eyes filled with tears again, but this time they weren't of sorrow, they were of gratitude. She reached for Ethan's hand, whispering, "You gave my daughter a life. You gave me hope." Ethan squeezed her hand gently. "No, Claire, Lily did this. She just needed someone to believe she could." And in that moment, she knew he was right.